movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
They're leaning in.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash. I mean, you see with Disney now. I mean, Disney, one of the most gay-friendly companies that we've had in a very long time.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
But at the same time, like, I think going forward, they're going to be like, hey, shut up. Yeah. Tight-lipped. Otherwise, guess what? We're clawing back some money.
Yeah. They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Rachel Zegler just got called out by Joe Rogan on the world's biggest podcast. And what he said might have just ended Disney's entire plan for the Snow White remake. But that's not all, because behind the scenes, this film didn't just flop. It unraveled like a fairy tale gone completely wrong. And what came out of that disaster? A whirlwind of controversy, backlash, and one of the biggest brand identity crises Disney has ever faced. So what really happened? How did Disney turn one of its most iconic stories into a Hollywood disaster? And why is everyone, from fans to critics to A-list podcasters, saying this was the moment Disney finally lost the magic?
This thing was a disaster. It only made $43 million at the box office, which is really bad for a movie like this. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head, but I want to tell you, Cinderella, which was a number of years ago, don't forget how much inflation has happened.
Let's dive in. And trust me, it gets worse with every twist. It started with a movie, a simple idea. Remake the 1937 animated Snow White with a modern twist. New effects, new faces, new message. On paper, it sounded like a hit, a guaranteed blockbuster, the kind of project studios dream about. But the second Rachel Zegler opened her mouth during the press tour, things started going downhill, and fast. She didn't just promote the film, she mocked the original. She called the 1937 Snow White weird. She said the prince was creepy. She said the love story made no sense and that her Snow White wouldn't be dreaming of true love or waiting to be rescued.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be.
Instead, she'd be a boss, a leader, a woman with no time for romance, and people were like, wait, what? You're starring in Snow White? And you're out here trashing the very story you're supposed to represent? That's when the backlash started. And it didn't take long. Critics, fans, even other celebrities. Everyone started weighing in, but the biggest voice came from none other than Joe Rogan. On his podcast, Rogan slammed Disney for going woke. He didn't hold back. He said Disney wasn't making movies for audiences anymore. They were making statements. And in his words, nobody wants to watch a narcissistic girl boss tear down a classic fairy tale.
It does seem like the media have got the throw her under the bus green light, though, when we're posting things like this. We're slagging her off behind the scenes, we're dropping all the information, and then reminding you of, her attacking the majority of the population of America when she posted F the Orange Man.
He wasn't alone. Across YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, content creators were reacting in real time, stitching Rachel's interviews, mocking her delivery, posting side-by-side comparisons of the original Snow White and this new version that looked nothing like the story fans loved. And just when it felt like the drama couldn't get worse, it did. Because audiences weren't just angry at the interviews, they were angry at the movie itself. When Snow White finally hit theaters, it was a disaster. A complete implosion. Reviews were brutal. Critics trashed the storytelling. They slammed the visuals. CGI that looked cheap. Characters that felt flat. A tone that felt hollow and preachy instead of magical. Gone was the warmth. Gone was the wonder. And in its place, a painfully modernized, over-edited mess. And fans, they were even harsher.
Snow White reviews are in. Snow White, how shall we say? Data points are in, because we now know that it was a flop.
The movie didn't feel like Disney. It felt like a lecture, and people were not in the mood. Disney had tried to remove the prince. They turned the dwarfs into random magical forest creatures. And instead of romance and wonder, the film gave audiences empowerment speeches and sarcastic dialogue. And it backfired. Badly. Peter Dinklage even called out Disney before the film came out. He criticized the entire idea of doing a progressive remake while still including dwarfs. Disney panicked. In response, they didn't hire actors with dwarfism. They just replaced the dwarfs with CGI characters. And that sparked another firestorm. Actors with dwarfism spoke out. Fans were confused. Critics said Disney was trying so hard to avoid offense, they ended up offending everyone. And the star at the center of it all? Rachel Zegler. She tried to fix things. She did more interviews. She posted on social media. She tried to act more excited about the film. But it didn't work. Her energy felt fake.
I think it's fair to say that no one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie. And yet, Christian, you've seen the movie, and it appears that the filmmakers cobbled together enough salvageable material to make the movie itself quite nice.
Her lines felt scripted. Nothing felt real. People started calling her out for being insincere, abrasive, unlikable. Some said her version of Snow White didn't feel like a heroine. It felt like a scolding babysitter. And behind the scenes, things were getting even worse. Rumors started flying that Rachel and Gal Gadot, the actress playing the evil queen, were not getting along at all. People who worked on set said the tension was real. They avoided each other between takes. Gal was reportedly frustrated with Rachel's attitude and behavior during press events. Some insiders said Gal refused to attend certain premieres because of Rachel. And if you thought that was dramatic, wait until you hear what happened next. The film came out. It bombed, hard. Box office numbers tanked. After weeks in theaters, it barely passed $77 million.
Just last week, the media and the shill influencers were trying to do everything they could to save Snow White from being a complete and total flop in the box office, and they failed miserably. This movie is already a complete and total disaster, and it is so bad that now even the media has to admit.
That's a disaster for any Disney film, let alone one with a legacy like Snow White. And in the middle of the chaos, Rachel Zegler disappeared. No more social posts, no interviews, no explanations. Just silence. Then came the leaks. Disney had postponed the movie's international rollout. Rachel was pulled from press appearances. There were whispers that she had fled to Dubai to escape the backlash. And the rumors didn't stop there. Some insiders claimed Disney was so disappointed they were exploring legal options, asking if Rachel's interviews violated her contract, asking if they could recoup part of the movie's $120 million loss. You read that right, $120 million. And while Snow White crashed and burned, Minecraft, yes, the movie based on the video game, was dominating the box office. It was everything Snow White wasn't. Fun.simple, true to its fan base, and it was crushing it in sales.
Go something like this.
Chicken
TikTok was filled with fans calling Minecraft the real movie of the year. Some even dressed as blocks to see the film, while others filmed empty Snow White screenings and posted them with captions like, "This is what happens when Disney forgets who their audience is." And it didn't stop there, because suddenly, Snow White wasn't just a movie, it became a symbol, a flashpoint in the culture war, a debate about storytelling, identity, and the future of entertainment. People started asking, has Disney lost its touch? Where's the charm, the heart, the joy? Instead of giving people magic, they gave them messaging. And people walked away. Critics didn't just blame Rachel, they blamed Disney as a whole. The leadership, the creative team, the direction. Even former Disney execs spoke out anonymously, saying the studio had lost the plot. That instead of crafting timeless stories, they were chasing trends. That the soul of Disney, the thing that made it special, was fading fast.
So it sounded like they really liked it, which is really, really exciting. I saw the title card, which looked great. I got really emotional hearing everybody's reactions to it, which was really, really incredible. And so I feel very blessed to be a part of something that seems to be very important to a lot of people, including myself.
YouTubers were making hour-long breakdowns. Commentators were diving deep into Disney's recent string of disappointments, the Marvel fatigue, the Star Wars missteps. And now this? Snow White was supposed to be their rebound. Instead, it became the punchline. And in the middle of it all, Rachel Zegler. Her public image was shattered, from rising star to industry cautionary tale, and the silence only made it worse. Fans felt abandoned. Disney felt betrayed. And Rachel? Nobody knew what she felt because she was gone. People started speculating. Was she hiding? Recovering from a breakdown? Was Disney forcing her into silence? Or was she just hoping the fire would burn itself out? But this fire didn't die down. It grew. Because suddenly, Snow White wasn't just a failed movie. It was a case study, a viral moment, a cultural conversation. Theaters emptied, merch wasn't moving, and the Disney brand, once untouchable, looked vulnerable. And now, nobody knows what happens next.
Snow White, the toe-curlingly terrible live-action remake, has bombed so hard at the box office that even Paul Tassi had to admit it. It got $43 million, and there are very few ways to spin that.
Will Disney keep pushing forward with remakes? Will they backtrack? Will they listen to fans and bring back the warmth and wonder they were once known for? And what about Rachel Zegler? Is her Hollywood career over? Or is this just a brutal chapter in a long story? Because if there's one thing we've learned from this entire disaster, it's that no amount of CGI, empowerment speeches, or modern twists can replace what fans really want. A story that feels timeless. One thing is for sure, this wasn't just a box office flop, it was a wake-up call. For the fans, for Disney, for Hollywood, and maybe, just maybe, for Rachel Zegler too. Stay tuned, because this story, it's not over yet.